Yo! In this video, I'll show you an activity our gym did a couple of weeks ago that consists on slab boulders that have absolutely zero hands, so it's all on the feet. So it went from V3 to V9 boulders, and I'll try to give in tips on how to do these slabs or just explain how hard they felt for that level. So stay till the end because there's gonna be some crazy moves on some harder boulders. Okay, so starting off with this V3, you see that it's a complete traverse and every single boulder has this trajectory, but some start on the left, some start on the right. And you'll see that for this V3, there's not much to say because the footholds are insanely huge. The only thing that you have to do is to really stay close to the wall and make sure that you're always doing these small one leg squats. So you already need a certain power in your legs. Moving on to the next level, which is V5. This time we're gonna be joined by my friend Maxim. So if she climbs something of her style, she climbs around V8. If she climbs a normal slab, it's probably around V7. But since this has absolutely zero hands, I think she's in the V5 range. So we're gonna analyze here what I did that she didn't do in a couple of seconds. But as you see here, there's a lot of small footholds that we did not see on the V3. So already it's quite a level up. And you can also see that there's a lot more drop downs with the legs. So what I mean by that is the opposite of doing a one leg squat, it's dropping down. And as you can see here, Maxim couldn't do this move, and you see she's kind of like falling into it. But the best way to do this movement is to bend your left leg to do the opposite of a one leg squat. So that way you can go slowly into the volume instead of dropping really fast into it. So the next level is V6, and this first move we can already see the technique I just explained to you, which is dropping down slowly into a hold. And then this next one, you're gonna have to do this ballerina type of movement, which is lifting yourself up with only one leg. And it was tricky because you have to find this balance to not go too much into it and also give enough push to just stay right above it. And as you saw, I did not get it on my first attempt because I didn't give enough push. So this next movement is also insanely tricky, and I fell again since you have to drop down. But this time it's kind of just weird because you don't see the hold. You basically have to trust that a volume is gonna be there. And what I did differently on this attempt is basically all on the ankle. So on the left side, you see that I'm really dropping low with my ankle. And on the right side, I'm staying very high. And in that way, I can slowly put weight into it. I would say that it was definitely the crux, and then matching this was fairly easy because the hold is big. It's just that when you're dropping down into it, it feels really weird because of, like I said, you just don't see it. So the next section is doing this ballerina move again. Then you have to cross in this last hold, but you have to go also to the left side. So you finish with this left foot and right foot over there, and that finishes up the V6. And we're up to V7. It's for sure my favorite boulder of this set because there's a bunch of really low percentage moves, and already here you can see that this volume is pretty flat and slippery. So my trick for doing this one is to basically go around the purple volume you see, and it's kind of in the way, so you basically have to put your leg a little above and then drop down and just pray that your right foot doesn't slip. So at this point you can match that volume and go into this pretty huge hold. The problem is that you have to match again and there's not enough space for both of your feet, so you have to slowly make some space and after that go into another big hold. So right here is where the sauce is starting. You have to drop down into these really small footholds that you don't see from your perspective, that I almost missed on that attempt. And right here I'm like, alright, I see this right foothold, and then what the hell do I do to get all the way down to the right side where there's this volume? So the only thing that I thought in that moment after a couple of hesitation is doing this foot swap and dropping down, but that was so damn uncomfortable. I actually couldn't find something better, so I did it again and it actually did land, and then slowly dropping down into that volume did the job. And this last move was also really hard, so I try to go statically, but I think the right method was doing this small paddle with your feet. So the accumulation of the low percentage move makes this V7 really hard. I don't know if it fits the grade, but this is for sure my favorite one since this foot swap was insane and this last move was incredible because in this attempt I just commit to the paddle and it did land. I was super surprised that I could do that. And now moving on to V8, even though the V7 was hard, this is definitely a step up because even this beginning is really tricky to get out of. You have this flat volume and you have to slowly lift your left foot up. And during that time, it just feels like you can't breathe. You're like so into the wall that if you breathe, you're basically just gonna come off and it's this weird feeling that you're never comfortable. So this next move is probably the first crux where you have to drop down pretty fast into this one. So you can't really squat down because the right foot is not good enough for that. And I just think this is the most optimal way of going into this hold because this one is actually good. You have a good space for your feet and then you can match this one. And the next part is also really hard since this foothold that you're seeing on the screen, I could not see it from that angle. It's on the other side of this volume and if I want to get it right, I just have to trust that it's there. And it's so weird because you have to slowly drop down and just know that it's there. So if somebody were to flash this one, it would be so crazy because it's just a proof that they understand the movement and they know the hold is there and with full trust, they just drop down into it. But that was not my case. I tried it a couple of times and it was definitely a tricky move. And I'm back into this famous volume that we used for the V7, but this time it wasn't too bad since I didn't have to necessarily jump into it. And this last section, I think it's the hardest section in my opinion because you have to match this really, really slopey hold. So we don't see it from this angle, but there's not much space for your right foot. So I'm basically just praying that it doesn't slip. And this is the controlled match. You have a left foot, a right foot, and that's it. But it's so damn sketchy. For that V8, there was a lot of leg power compared to the other boulders, but we could also see a lot of trust, some courage for sure, and have this 3D type of view to understand where every hold is without even seeing it. And we're already into the last boulder, which is a V9 that felt V11 disguised in a V10. I don't know, this just felt incredibly hard. And I think when they set these boulders, the volume was a lot better because it felt really slippery when I was trying to match this, which is also the crux of the boulder. So it all depended on this volume. Anyways, I tried this move a couple of times and almost died a couple of times, but I never succeeded to get this from the start. So I was trying it from the second move and I couldn't really get into position. I also tried another beta for this move that was probably even more dangerous. And on this attempt, I started off with the orange hold and placed myself in the matching position. And for the first and last time, I succeeded to match this volume and go into the next small foothold that you see on the left side. But like I said, this was the only time I got it, so I couldn't even do that from the start or link the whole boulder. So that move was just insanely hard and it prevented me from getting this boulder. The next part of this boulder was also not given. You see that this cross is huge. I am completely twisted and then I have to uncross into the flat volume we saw on the V7 and V8. So this move is also the second crux that I could actually do more consistently, and it would probably be a problem from the start, but at least I could isolate it a lot more. And I actually enjoyed this move. The big cross and then trusting the uncross into the volume was fun. And you see here with the close-up that this foothold is not really good, and then you have this volume that can slip anytime. So we can see that there's lots of low percentage move, even more than the V8 or V7 we saw earlier. And I would say that the most noticeable thing that goes into this boulder compared to the other ones is the trickiness of the movements. Even for this last one, that again, it's this type of ballerina move. It's a small foothold and you have lots of holds in between that you want to avoid. but especially for the middle section that was really funky. I don't know if that's a beta, but it was really tricky, and that's something the other boulders did not really have. I think it's really cool that as the levels of Slab goes harder, the movement gets more tricky, you need more courage, more trust. So it doesn't only depend on your strength of your feet or your legs, but also on your mental strength. So to wrap this up, even though I'm not an incredible Slab climber, this activity was so cool, and I love that my gym does these type of challenges. If you haven't seen my last video of campus boulders only, make sure you do, because it's the same concept. My gym only set campus boulders for that set, and it was insanely cool and hard, so make sure you check that out. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below what you thought about this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.